Welcome to this week's topic. Today we're going to take a look at Wi-Fi, which is a lot of fun. I love Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi stands for wireless fidelity. We have been using radio technology for 100 years now. Radio technology is used in radar, it's used in AM/FM radio, it's used in emergency radio systems, walkie-talkies, everything. Right? That's Wi-Fi. Particularly, wireless fidelity or Wi-Fi does refer to what we do within wireless networking for our phones and our computers. And so this term, Wi-Fi, is often just meaning I'm connecting to a wireless network. The first thing you need to know is that Wi-Fi is less secure than wired networking. Plugging into a wired network is more secure than wireless, and that's because of what you see here on the screen. All wireless technology happens in waves that travel through our atmosphere. And so what you see in these two pictures is different views of what a wireless signal looks like. So here you can see the antenna, and then you can see the wireless signal coming outward, and you're looking at it from the side. Here we're kind of looking diagonal down on the top of it, and you can see it looks like a donut. Kind of a literal way of seeing the same thing happen would be to take a rock, throw it into a pond, and watch the waves. Now, we see the waves on the surface, but we also understand that the waves are happening beneath the water. So when you throw that solid object in, it displaces the water and then it makes that wave. Well, radio technology travels through our airwaves. So here's the thing. Pretend that this is you holding a cell phone right in the middle, right? So you've got your cell phone and you're talking, or you're on a website and you're browsing the web. That signal from your phone doesn't just head off to some tower someplace. It balloons out everywhere. And the same information, let's say the tower's over here, the same information that's hitting the tower on this side is also heading out the other direction, right? So the signal's going everywhere. And that's really how wireless works. Now, this is a sample. This is just a little picture of what a 2.4 gigahertz wireless wavelength looks like and a 5 gigahertz wireless wavelength. These are the two wavelengths, bandwidths, as they call them, that we use for Wi-Fi or for wireless networking in your house or in the building behind me in the picture. So 2.4 is a little larger than 5 gigahertz is. So as you see that oscillation, that's where the data can be kept. And so you can actually carry more data on a 5 gigahertz signal than you can a 2.4. But because the 2.4 is bigger, it's about an inch. It's not as big as what we see here on the screen. But the 2.4 is about an inch. It actually will go further. It is less limited by objects. See, anything that's an inch or thicker is going to stop this 2.4. So it's definitely going to stop the 5 gigahertz. So while the 5 gigahertz can carry more data, it doesn't travel as far. A lot of people think that they're sitting in their house and they're back in their bedroom and the Wi-Fi box is way on the other end of the house and that Wi-Fi is coming through all those walls. And that's not really what's happening. If the walls are paper thin, then definitely the wireless is going through there. But just like sound waves, the walls are going to disrupt the wireless transmission. And most often you're getting your signal as it bounces down the hall and then in through a thinner door, right? So if you had a solid oak door on your bedroom, you would cut the signal off pretty dang well there. But when you go into a brick building, right, your reception just goes down because the signal can't get in through the bricks very well. You are using airwaves to transmit that data. So because you're using the same frequency to send and receive, the access point has to be quiet while you send to the access point. And your computer or phone has to be quiet when the cell tower or access point is sending to you. You can't use the airwaves at the same time, which also means everybody else that's using the same airwaves has to share that as well. And the cell tower or the access point is the one that's trying to control all that, trying to be the traffic cop. But remember, when we looked at the antennas here, cell towers have tremendous antennas. Access points have better antennas than we do in our phones, in our notebooks. And so you may have a great connection from the access point to you and a very poor connection from you to the access point. So you have those two ways of communication. And that's why often your wireless signal will look like it's awesome until you start to use it, and then it'll drop down. Or your cell, people see that on their cell phones all the time. Wow, I got a great signal, 5 bars. Let me start talking. Let me start getting on the internet. Oh, wow, 2 bars, 1 bar. What's happened here? Well, yeah, you could be moving around and not getting as good of a signal, but often your phone and your computer are trying to estimate what it can do. And it's getting this wonderful signal from the tower. And so it's like, yeah, I got a good signal. And then you start to transmit back. And then it's like, okay, I don't have a signal that great. And it drops down. So this means you might be able to see the access point, but it might not be able to see you so well. It depends on, your environment that you're in. And then this is because Wi-Fi is the way it is, and that balloon is sending that data all over the place, it also can cause some problems with hackers. So what you see on this little picture here is, pretend that's McDonald's there. A person there in the middle, because the Wi-Fi is going everywhere, could actually be watching what you're doing. Now, I don't mean so much of seeing exactly what's on your screen. They use programs that they call sniffers, and it brings in all the data. And really, what are they looking for? They're looking for your login passwords and your login IDs. They're looking for you typing social security numbers, credit card numbers, bank account numbers, that kind of thing. So your signal goes everywhere. It's bouncing off the walls. It goes around corners. It heads out windows, right? So I could be at McWiFi and be outside in the front, and you won't even know it. Now, places like McWiFi, they're open networks. And how you know they're open networks is they require no passwords. You just go click, and now you're on. And we love that ease of use. But I'm going to tell you flat out, I would never log into an account through their Wi-Fi, because somebody could be sitting there with a sniffer looking at the information that I'm pulling up. So if I'm reading emails, they'll be able to see those emails. Now, yes, there's encryption that comes into play there, but with the appropriate tools, which are not hard for them to get, they can perpetrate things like an evil twin, which is basically a man-in-the-middle attack. What they do is they pretend like they're the McWiFi, and you connect to their computer, and then they connect you to the real switch, router, firewall, access point, the box that gives you that, right? And so then that way, when you're connected to them, they're decrypting that information and looking at it and then passing it back out for you. And you don't even know that they're doing it. I tell people all the time, if you go on a trip, do not access bank accounts, do not access anything that you feel should be private in your hotel room on their Wi-Fi. And the reason for that is because this kind of evil twin activity can happen really easy with somebody just in the next room, and you access them, not the actual hotel. That kind of thing can happen. And so I always tell people I don't do that. I turn the Wi-Fi off on my phone if I've attached to a network like that, and I go out through the cell network. Because while the same thing could happen on a cell network, it takes a lot more to do. Basically, you have to have a module that they use on cell towers. So anyway, don't do anything important on an open Wi-Fi network. Just use the cell network for that really important stuff. I mean, I'll use the McWiFi, look up a map, what's the times that Disneyland is opening and all that stuff. That's no big deal. All right, so the next thing. The other side of this is, some of you have already had to set up your own Wi-Fi at home. and others of you will. And a lot of people, they just trust, Uncle so-and-so or cousin so-and-so or friend so-and-so that knows about this much more than they do with technology, and they trust them to get it done. I tell people, just don't do that. Do it yourself and follow the instructions. They have made it very easy to set up your own wireless access point, or what is often called a wireless router. And that's because it's got the router function in it as well as the Wi-Fi function in it. But anyway, they usually have a big fold out, or they'll have an electronic document that shows you step by step, this is what you have to do. The thing is that people are afraid to do that, even though step by step it's right there. You won't get lost. And also, people that do that often don't finish doing that. So let's say there's 12 steps and they only do 6 or 7. And why that happens is because by the time you hit halfway through the setup process, you actually have activated that device. It's all working. And now your wireless access is there and you're on the internet, and people go, sweet, somehow I did it in 7 steps instead of 12. I'm done. And they throw that away and never go back to it. Of course, all of those steps that they were trying to lead you through is changing your admin default password, because that can be found on the internet easily, choosing a very good passphrase so they tell you what to do there. Somebody comes to your house and says, what's your wireless password? Really, that's called a passphrase, and it should be long, and it shouldn't have a bunch of duplicate numbers. And I tell people, pick a sentence that you like. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, exclamation point. Use something long. Yeah, it causes trouble. Your friends don't like it because they'd like it to be Bubba 42, but that's easy to hack. And the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, exclamation point, is not easy to hack. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make it hard enough that they won't bother you. Use WPA2 or 3. 3 is out now. Some devices have 3, others still just have WPA2, but if you got 3, start using it. You don't have to understand what that is. You just have to know, I need that setting. That's what I'm going to use. Follow all the instructions and you'll be safe. Now, let me give you an example of why you need to do that. I have discussed this for years, going on 15 years, discussed these very same things. Pretty early in my teaching, I had a student raise their hand afterwards and say, I have something to share. Well, that's always a little concerning. You never know what somebody's going to share. But he had something really good to share. He said he was going to ASU at the time, and he had a computer, and he was one of those people that didn't follow all those steps. He just got it set up. He's like, who cares? People can use my wireless if they want. I don't care. Well, the FBI showed up at his door, and then he cared. And it was actually, the situation's not funny, but how he told it was funny. He was like, hey, those blue jackets with the yellow? That's what they wear. And he's like, is this a TV show? He's looking for cameras and things. Anyway, they barge into the house, show him hey, we got a warrant to search your place. They take his computers. They start asking him all these weird questions. He said he was lucky because one of the FBI agents was really nice and could tell that this guy is not the one that perpetrated these crimes. And so then the FBI agent tells him why. We took your stuff. We're not going to take you in because we can tell you don't know anything, but we're still going to check all your stuff. You won't get your computer back for at least 2 months, maybe 6 months. That's a long time when you're in school to go without a computer in your house. So he had to buy another one. That's what he said. I bought another one so I could do something. But this is what they told him. They said somebody accessed your network and looked up child pornography. And so here we are thinking that that's what you did. And I can tell you didn't, but if we find anything on that computer, we'll be back, so don't leave town. He was just floored that such a thing could happen. When he got done telling that story, I said, you know what? Thank goodness the person that did that wasn't smart enough to dump some of that stuff on your computer somewhere. Because if they're on your network, they could have easily have done that. And so that is a really extreme example of what can happen. You need to secure your network, not just to keep people off your computer, but to keep people out of your network that look for easy networks to get into so they can perpetrate crime on them and make it look like somebody else. See that IP number that you've been learning about in this class, it follows you out of your system and back. And that's just a real simple way to look at it. It's more complex than that, but you can trace it, right? I'm going to go do an illegal activity. So I get on somebody else's network. I do that illegal activity and it looks like they did it. And now I'm safe from prosecution. So I know that's scary. You're like, I'll have somebody else do it because I don't want. If you follow the instructions on those steps, you're good. You're good to go. Somebody might ask me later, so I'm just going to tell you now. What are you really doing? Well, again, you're changing the default password. That's to get in and program the bots. That's the program. You're choosing a good passphrase. That's to make sure people can't get into your network. And you're choosing the appropriate security to put on there so it's not easy to figure out what this is. And the steps will get you to that end. Now, the last thing I want to mention is social engineering. Social engineering is people messing with people. And just about every attack we have on a computer system involves social engineering, tricking you to click something. That's usually what it is. So just really easy, I mean, really simple and straightforward here. Masquerading is pretending to be someone that you're not. So that's like a face-to-face kind of thing, but it can also, right, be over the internet. I am a king of whatever, and I've got $4 billion I need to give you. I'm masquerading. Now, tailgating, that's something that really can only be done physically. You're walking into a door, somebody else follows you into a door. And dumpster diving is actually looking for information in somebody's garbage to figure out, you know, who they are, what their bank account numbers are, and that kind of thing. Those two things or three things are actually physical ones, and masquerading can be something electronic. But down below, we've got phishing, farming, those two. And that is really fishing for information. That's creating a fake email that will drag stuff out of you. And farming, sending you to a website that's not what you thought it was, that kind of thing. That stuff happens all the time, and it is a form of social engineering. Basically, it's like saying, hey, we're Amazon and we wanted to give you $100, so click here. And then you click there and it looks like Amazon, but it's really not. And so you type in your user ID, you type in your password, and now they have it. And they immediately go out and exploit that, order a bunch of stuff, send it to them, and you know, you're like, what am I going to do? Right? Same thing can happen for a bank. Hi, this is Chase. You got some problems. Please click here to log in. So this all sounds really scary, but it has one super easy way to just make sure that it doesn't happen to you. And that is if you get an email and you look at it and you're like, wait, I'm concerned about this. Chase says there's been suspicious activity and they tell me that I can click this link. Don't. Go to Chase yourself, right? www.chase.com, enter. Log into your account there. Same thing with Facebook, same thing with Instagram, with anything. You can basically say, well, I got this suspicious email and I don't know if it's real. Let me go over, use my web browser and actually go to Amazon and I'll log in and then I'll see if I see the same information. Piece of cake. Just make sure you don't click anything in those emails and that you go type it in yourself and you're okay. Now, the last one there, key logging, I should have that on the mobile stuff, but I don't, because you can key log on a computer as well. And that's really just recording keystrokes. So you can actually get a Trojan on your machine and it'll record all your keystrokes. So everything you type in, and it sends it off to some other place. Well, something that people don't realize is, you know, you get those special keyboards. People want, you know, to have this picture over their keyboard on their iPhone or their Android. It's on both systems, right? Oh, I want to edit that so that I can have the Marvel universe right there on my keyboard. I think both systems do this, but I know iOS does this. They warn you that when you install that keyboard, you are giving them access to everything you type. And that's why they do it. Let's give you a free keyboard that you think is awesome, and we can actually get your social security number that you typed in, your account numbers to your email, to your bank, to everything. We get to have all that data. So don't turn them on, don't have them, and realize that those key logging little keyboards, that's what they do. You agree to give them that information. So get rid of those if you have them. If you have any questions, because I know there is a lot we could talk about, please let me know. Contact me, and again, I will help you out as much as I can.